everyone, we are live. We made it to yet another bonus live stream. Thank you so much for coming and and hanging out. So this is like part 8, but this live stream on a Friday is available because of the really cool super chat people on our super chat members on Wednesday night. So I believe, if I get it right, it was Liz, Dave, Mr. Gary, and Giovanni. I believe those were the members. If I missed someone, I really do apologize, but I think that's what it was. So 2 from Liz, 1 from Gary, 1 from Giovanni, and then Dave. So yes, so 5. So 5 super chats. So that's why we're doing this, which is really great. And so right now, let's go ahead and kind of decide what to work on. Now, I do have from last night some of my detail mixture of my Airbrush India inks. And sometimes if I do have, like, let's say some detail mix in my airbrush, I could use that as a gray to calm things down. Poco, how's it going? Great to see you. How are you today? I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out. And so I'm going to be using this as a kind of a neutralizing color. It's so light right out of the bottle with the detail mixture here, which is a waterproof India ink. And I believe it will definitely work with the Wicked paints that are on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my reference. There's a program called PureRef, P-U-R-E-R-E-F, and it's really fantastic. It really helps you to, if you're working on the computer, it really helps you to blow things up, make sure it's always on top. You can put different references with that. You know, oh, I'm doing okay. Thanks, Poco, for asking. I'm glad you're doing well, my friend. That is so great. So now, I want to kind of bring some interest to this area of her arm. So we're just going to see, and we can see that it is darkening, but I have to be careful that I don't oversaturate and it gets too wet. So I'm just going to hit and move. And it's just dulling it just enough, so I'm giving some depth to this area, not too flat. Anthony, hey, Tony D, how's it going? Great to see you, my friend. How are you today? All the way from the UK. And just slowly darkening things. I'm not going too detailed. It's very, very light. So I'm just dulling some colors here and there. And if I really want to, you know, go to town and start dulling colors, then I would probably come in with the actual Wicked color. Now, I wouldn't do this if you were working on a car or something like that, because it probably would not adhere as well if you were just to use the Wicked paint. But since this is an illustration, a painting, then a lot more goes, you know, so that's an important consideration. And sometimes it kind of pulls up on the surface. You can just kind of wipe that if you need to. Now, here we can actually use that for super subtle areas in the face. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be about 6 inches away, and I'm just going to slightly dull things up a little bit. Now, let's see in her lip area if we can just do some subtlety with this. Just super subtle kind of transition tones. Kind of lower the energy in certain areas. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Tony, for asking. I'm doing okay, working hard. Always trying to, but also make sure that I get my rest too, right, Tony? We need that. We need to make sure that I've been exercising more, eating better, that sort of thing. So it's really great. I'm able to dull things down without changing the color. Just kind of lowering the energy or the dimmer switch here and there. Like I said, it might get a little too wet. I would just leave it. I wouldn't wipe it. So that was not a good idea. Right over here, I can probably dull it down a little bit. And then maybe just on the outside of her nostrils. Just like that. And you see, perpendicular and not parallel is always best. And so I did a little bit of a mistake there. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm just going to lightly erase that out. So you have to be careful that you don't overdo it like I just did. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that it's dry. But see, the thing is, when you make a mistake, we can't get emotional about it in the sense that I must fix it right away. You don't have to fix it right away. Just got to make sure it's dry. And I'm going to take a kind of non-aggressive eraser because I don't want to dig into what I already have. But I can just kind of get rid of that light India ink a little bit. It comes right off. And you want to go super light because you don't want to touch the Wicked paint that you have on there. So this painting's about 2 months I've been working on this, but I've been working on pretty much exclusively only on the live stream. Oh, Tony has a question, says, do you use adhesion promoter on painted clear plastic, or is it needed for new unpainted plastic? So that's a good question. Hey, Mr. Dan, all the way from Indiana. I just got a, I don't use adhesion promoter except when I'm working with candies. And I just picked this up just the other day. Let's see if I can find it now. I just picked it up from the art store. They had it on sale. And it is the this stuff, the bleed checker. So when I'm working on candies, I'll use this as an Intercoat clear. So this was marked down all the way to $3.03. So that's a great deal. And so the 40/40 bleed checker, I know a lot of people will go ahead and they'll use the 40/50 to kind of do an Intercoat clear. A friend of mine uses the 600 Autoborn Sealer to clear, to Intercoat clear. So I haven't really done that yet, except for the candies. But I don't think it's a bad idea, Tony, so that's for sure. On painted and cleared plastic, though, this is on metal panel, so I'm not sure, my friend. But I know the 600 works really well on anything, so that's really good. Also 450. But when you're working with candies, you need this stuff. Otherwise, even with the 450 or the 6000, it's still going to bleed out into the other colors when you put on it. Mr. Franz, how are you? Great to see you. All the way from South Africa, I believe. How are you? Mr. Kyle, all the way from Pennsylvania. Great to see you. How's it going? So glad you're here. So now what I'm going to do is, let's see, we still have this. Let's see how this will affect the dark. Can we lightly darken, give some atmosphere? Nope, I don't think that the detail mixture is the best idea. So we're going to kind of clean this out together, which is a detail mixture that is diluted. So that cleans out really good. My pleasure, Mr. Tony. Thanks for that great question. Colette, how's it going? Great to see you. And Poco says that he would suggest promoter on straight plastic, Tony. Very cool. That's perfect. Thank you for that information, sir. That's why I love the live stream. A lot of good information gets tossed back and forth, which is great. Okay, so clean this out and get rid of, and then I just use this. I don't need to go too crazy with Q-tips with the Airbrush India inks. They're not very, they don't stain. They pretty much wipe pretty clean pretty quickly. So Colette, all the way from the Atlanta area, great to see you. How you doing today? And Dan says, I think you can use transparent Audubon sealer as an adhesion promoter. Createx does make an adhesion promoter. He should check their website. Great information, Dan. Thank you. That's fantastic. Yeah, they're really big on their 4050 UVLS gloss, which is good. But, you know, I don't work on cars or anything like that. So I don't really feel a need yet for adhesion promotion, but that's just me. What I want to do is I want to come in with a dark gray and a transparent gray, and I want to kind of have a feeling of it darker below and getting lighter as it goes towards the lights above, you know. And Colette says, don't forget to hit that like button. I appreciate that, Colette. So I have some Wicked Black. How much? None in there. So much for that. Let's see. I do have some dark gray, and I'll go ahead and I'll mix some of that up, and we'll kind of move it up here. There we go. And this is not a transparent, just to make that information. And I'm going to actually, I'm going to put some water in there because that's illustration colors right here. I'm going to add a little bit of black to it. Here's Wicked Opaque Jet Black. So very cool information, guys, going around. I appreciate yous. I'm going to kind of darken this just a tad. And then we're going to mix it. I really don't like mixing paint with a Q-tip, so don't do as I do. And I want to thin it out a little bit more. Since I just added Opaque Jet Black, I'm going to kind of put in some 4021. And I'm going to use the back of a paintbrush. Much better than wasting a Q-tip. And let's see, right here. Come over here. All right, so we'll put some of that in here. Now, what I also want to do, which I'm going to sneeze in a couple of seconds, while that's brewing, I'm going to look for something to cover her up and just work on the background. Let's see if we can get that. we are really far along on this painting, so hopefully I won't have to cut another one out. Let's see. That's a face only. We have that. This might work because that just has the background, so I think this will be good. We'll move this over here and then just come over here like this. So we're getting to the end of the painting, which is always a bittersweet time. I just want to protect her. Not so much him. He's part of the background, the dude. There we go. So my goal is to just kind of have like a gradation going up, so we have a feeling of the light coming down. And Poco says, avoid if rubbing down plastic to paint. Be careful as some plastics can leach solvents and some promoters. Oh wow, that's really a good consideration. Thanks for that, sir. That's for sure. You don't want that to happen. Okay, so we have our paint in here, and here goes nothing. Let's darken this up, and we'll just kind of I'm kind of doing like a fading line here, just kind of see how I'm spraying and lifting up like that. This is a little light here. We'll do the same here. Kind of give a feeling of, you know, depth. You know, that's what's really important. Anthony says he might try it on a test piece. He's new to automotive custom painting. Usually paint on clay board. I definitely recommend, Tony, working on an aluminum panel. That will give you a real sense of what it would be like to, you know, work on a custom piece. Even the windows, I'm going to try and get a sense of it darker. And I may have to fix this. So let's see. What I like to do also is take the magnets and put them on top, so if I need to go back, I don't have to reposition it. It's going to fall right into place. But I do like the fact that it's kind of getting that kind of surreal quality, so I'm liking this. There we go. Okay. So getting a real sense of depth, you know. This is not a real, you know, background, so we're not like getting too literal. We are just kind of enjoying the fact that this is this environment that we created, and we're using it to get a feeling, an experience, and that's what it's about. And a light experience, an energy experience. And painting is energy, light is energy, so you're painting light. So whether we like it or not, that's what we're painting. We're not painting a subway, we're not painting her, we're not painting her hair or the dude in the background. We're painting energy. And once we get on board with the fact that we're painting energy, then we start to understand what's happening. Now that I have this, I want to try and kind of push this guy in the background. I don't want him coming out. So here I have this dark color, and what I want to do is kind of soften him up, which means change the contrast of him and the background so they're closer to one another, so they kind of fall back, you know. And Poco says he uses plastic primer, always leave it a couple of days after the cure up, and if there's a reaction, it gives you time for the reaction to take place and know what you're dealing with. Very cool. So thank you for that, sir. See how I'm kind of pushing him back, because he is not the main attraction here. Of course, this beautiful lady on the cell phone is. So here's something that you can do, is that you can actually, if you're stuck on a painting, you can ask ChatGPT, what is it that you would change? And ask ChatGPT to give you a brutal, honest assessment of your painting. So you take a picture of your painting in progress, and you bring it up to ChatGPT, and you ask it that question. And it not necessarily you have to follow it, but to get that brutal kind of feedback is really good. And on this painting, I am not ashamed to say that I did get some really good feedback as to, you know, have more of a sense of light coming from above and also pushing him back. And I just have to check my email here. Okay, come over here. Okay, I'm expecting an important email, so if I hear it chime, I'm definitely going to just take a moment, and let's see here. I'll be right back. All right, we are back, and let's continue talking about how ChatGPT made that assessment for me. And like I said, you don't have to pay attention to it, but a lot of times there will be some sense. So I definitely, you know, recommend trying it if you're stuck. Of course, you want the paid version, right? The $20 a month. You don't want the free version. And you see how I'm darkening down here and coming up a little bit better. Just move this up a little bit. There we go. So you can see what's happening here. But this painting has been, you know, a revelation. You know, it has been, you know, me exploring my painting theories on Photonic Realism and the wavelength progression. So it definitely has a different look, which I'm pleased about. I really am. And let's see. JC, how's it going? Great to see you, JC. Always a pleasure. That's so fantastic. So JC says Dan and Scott. So, oh, Scott is Poco, correct? If I'm not mistaken. So that is cool. So great to see you, JC, all the way from the Atlanta area. Can't be poor to pay attention. Can't be too poor to pay attention. That is so true. And, you know, I want, you know, honesty, and also, like, ChatGPT is also kind of, you know, not out there, you know, so if you're a little bit sensitive, that helps, you know, it really does. So embrace technology, everybody. That's really important as painters, you know? It really is. So we're going to go back to softening this dude over here. Not making him stand out, pushing him. So you see how I'm softening that edge there of him, bringing him back into the background, pushing him back, and that pushes her forward, doesn't it? So that's important consideration. Liz, how you doing all the way from Staten Island? Great to see you. Liz is saying she's having a full-on heart-to-heart with ChatGPT. That is great. And, you know, I love to hear that. And in class, I want to know more, Liz, so that's cool. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying ChatGPT a lot. And so that is great. And so, see how now she's really feeling like she's in this environment. Before, remember, on Wednesday I was doing paintbrush techniques, and now the airbrush is kind of softening things up. And, you know, as Mr. Bob Ross says, it is your world, you know, so you can do what you want. And I think that's an important consideration when painting. So I want to do this side. It's a little rough, and I can soften that up. And then I'll come back and soften up this dude. It's not about him. It's about her. JC says, make a little mistake, Tim, and show us how to fix it. Well, I don't have to make mistakes on purpose, JC. They happen a lot. But don't worry, you know. The guy looks like he moved 10 feet back. Thank you, Colette. We pushed that guy back there, you know. That's important. I want to desaturate his face a little bit. It's popping, so we'll see about how we can do that. And let's see. But right now, it's all about smoothing out the atmosphere, getting more of a sense of air and energy. Photonic realism is about energy. It's not about pigments. It's not about light and shade. It's about energy. So that's it. And pretty soon, it will be, the manifesto will be available on Amazon. Is that me in the background? Well, thank God I have more hair than that guy, so I'm happy about that. He just has that stuff like right here on the side. But I'm holding on to the hair I have, right? You know, it's important. So yeah, not me in the background. I think it's me in the foreground asking her to get off the phone. That's probably me. Just before she kicks my butt, you know. So right here, I want to soften this up here. Kind of bring up that real sense of light. You know, it's, you know, I could go deeper and like really go into the background and everything. So the background, if it's part of the story, you know, you put it in there, but you don't put more of the story there, if that makes sense. So I'm just using gray, maybe like a number 3 gray with a little bit of black to push it a little bit. It's an opaque, so I kind of like that because it's covering. It's not leaving the sketchiness of the paintbrush from Wednesday, you know. JC said he upgraded his resolution. Now he can see better. Definitely not you. Oh, great. So that's cool. Next time, include yourself after all it was a dream and it's your paint in the end. That's true. All of life is but a dream. Wait till you and I'm sure you're into quantum mechanics. I mean, I've been reading into that, and it's pretty scary. Some of the quantum mechanics people are saying that life is just one big simulation. That's pretty scary. So what I'm going to do, like the Matrix, so I'm going to see how now it's like nice and pushed back. I may come in now, since I did some coverage, to maybe come in with some transparents to warm it up, maybe like a transparent sepia or something like that from Createx. But now I'm going to enrich these darks here. Kind of push the darks a little bit more. I may have to even come darker to kind of get these shadowy figures out there a little bit more. Happy birthday to the grandson. Oh, Tony says, gotta go, everyone. It's his grandson's birthday, so gotta go phone him before he goes to bed. Great to see you, Tony. Always a pleasure. Happy birthday to the little guy. And I hope to talk to you soon, my friend. Always a pleasure, sir. That is Tony from the UK. I'm going to use this also to, as a glaze, and kind of push this here. So that's so cool. And so I want to also push this part of her sweater into shadow, because remember, it's coming forward, it's coming back. So at this stage of the game, a lot of it is just making things look better, That's what it's all about at this point. So after this live stream, I'm going to go for a nice walk. Get out of the studio for a while. And Tone, how's it going? All the way from New York City. Great to see you, Tone. Always loving the work you're doing, sir. That is so cool. Thank you, Tone, for hanging. There we go. And see how that's a little harsh, so I could soften that up a little bit. And remember, energy doesn't go on and off. When you have a cup of coffee, it's a hot cup of coffee, it doesn't go cold right away. Same thing with light and shadow, quote unquote. Things go from light to shadow, it dissipates, right? It's not harsh. If it is harsh, it's more rare than anything. I'm doing okay, Tone, working hard, got a lot of balls in the air, a lot of juggling different things, Trying to juggle those tennis balls is not easy. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just pushing myself, trying to take everything to the next level financially, with inspiration, and kind of also, and you know how this is, Tone, kind of enlarge your sphere of influence, right? As an artist and as a person. So I'm finding that, still being broke is not really, that's shrinking my sphere of influence, right? Talking about tennis balls and spheres, it's really important that I push myself to go to that next level, right, sir? So it's not easy, and so we have to have a plan. Good friend told me that if you have a plan, then at least you have something to work on and have a gauge as to, am I getting to where I want to be? Am I on the right path? Am I on the wrong path? And that seems to be helping me lately, sir. Yeah, that's a long answer, right, Tone? You just wanted to see how I was doing, and I give you this whole long answer. Let's see here. Perpendicular and not parallel. In the very beginning of this live stream, we seen just, what could happen if we go parallel. We could shoot too far, and that could cause problems. Exactly. That was a long answer, Tone. That's for sure. And so I'm happy with the progress of this painting because it's not just a painting. It's working out a painting philosophy. Not even a philosophy. It's working out an art movement, and so I'm really liking that. JC says, Tim, start from childhood and talk about your twin in another dimension 10 years from today. That'd be interesting. But once we get on board that we're painting energy, things really start changing. And once you start seeing everything as energy, you can't go back. I can't go back to just saying I'm painting light and shade. That would be nice and convenient, but I just can't, and it's really interesting. It's like in the Matrix, the blue pill and the red pill. Once you take that pill for awareness, it's hard to go back. It's actually impossible. So once I went this direction with Photonic Realism and painting, I didn't know that I can't go back to the old way. But there's going to be a lot of information coming that I can share with everyone very in depth, which would be great. Oh, thank you, Tone. So Tone says he's looking forward to that. I appreciate it. Yes, so this, and JC, actually, Pocos asked if this was the Patriot. This is the Extreme Patriot 105 that is customized, has a custom backing, has a custom needle, and you can see how far that needle comes out. I also put a spring on the pack valve so you can get micro adjustments with the air, and I changed the needle. So this is definitely not the one that you would get from the store or from Badger itself. I basically really souped this one up to get great detail. But so when I first made these, they were really for ink, right? India ink, and I was just painting in India ink, and they were perfect for that low viscosity. And then when I had these, I was like, wow, what do I use when I start working with, Createx and Golden and different paint companies like that? And then I would actually realize that since it has a 0.3 nozzle and a floating nozzle, the cone, right, it handles the paint better than anything. It's a Badger on steroids, Mr. JC said. That's funny. And JC said he had deja vu what happened 10 years ago. Hope I get one where I don't have to work and be able to eat. You don't have to work to be able to eat. I hear that. Mr. Ryan, how's it going all the way from Canada? Great to see you. So how's everything going? How's life treating you? Dan says, is it finer than? Definitely. This will definitely kick the butt of the Sotar in detail, in able to lower that air pressure, and it's also much better having that 0.3 nozzle and needle to get better, larger work. But having the needle come out as far as it does, it gets micron detail. Now, I'm not going to say that it's machined like the Micron. The custom Micron is definitely smooth and beautiful, but it's also $600. This one will do the same detail as the Micron. And the same thing, these guys, the same detail. You can lower that air pressure really low like the Micron, but it's only $179 as opposed to $600. So You can get a couple of these for 1 micron. And Ryan says, JC says, Ryan will speak to us in Spanish today. And Ryan says no. All the way from Spain. What are you doing in Spain, my friend? Are you on vacation? Oh, in what part of Spain? That is so cool. No canals español. Oh, no habla español. Oh, estoy aprendiendo la lengua y yo necesito hablar mucho más para practicar, pero estoy buscando una novia bonita de Latinoamérica. How's that? How's that, JC? Let's see. So Giovanni, how's it going, my friend? All the way from Chicago. JC says, Tim, it's fluent. Don't lie, Timoteo. No estoy mentira, or señor, pero, como se dice, yo necesito practicar mucho más, you know? Necesita más mujeres. Yo necesito más mujeres. Let's see. Entiendo, JC says. Very good. He says he understands. Could you have your... Ryan says, could have used my speaking skills, Tim. It's funny. I can read it really well. I can write it really well. I can speak it. But sometimes when... you know, Spanish speakers really start speaking fast, it's rough. But I understand Mexican Spanish the most because I used to watch las telenovelas y Univision, Telemundo, Cantinflas, JC, Cantinflas, Chesparito. And I'm just going to come here and kind of soften this up. So Giovanni, I'm loving all the videos that you're doing. They're super fantastic. And so Giovanni and Liz are two of the people that helped make this live stream possible. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate that so much. And so that is great. And actually it's Texas. Yes. Giovanni is definitely in Texas. Ooh, look at this. So this was interesting. My air cap was loose and it was still working. That's interesting. So think about that, you know, the air, that's why these things are like, and I'm not selling it, you know, everyone here probably has one, but as far as this airbrush, it is durable. If something goes, it'll cost you $9 to fix it, you know, it's just really durable. My needles, I refine the needles so it, you know, it's a little more delicate. But the needle's like, what, 10 bucks? I'm still softening this guy up a little bit, pushing him back. But I don't want to make it obvious that I'm softening him up, so I'm just going to darken around him. I don't want it obvious that I pushed him back. But I can do a cast shadow that he's making. So those are things that you do that are outside of the doing it realistically. This program was brought to you by viewers like you. Yes, PBS, that's great. And JC says, looking great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And Giovanni says he tried to do a super chat, but it's not going through. Oh, man. Thank you for trying, my friend. I appreciate that anyway. I guess YouTube doesn't want me to make money today. Let's push him back a little further. And we can also put a little more depth here. Yeah, all I'm doing is using this gray and just kind of creating atmosphere. Nothing too in-depth or fancy today, right? And thanks, Giovanni. I appreciate that. Do you polish the needle? I notice it's finer than the original Extreme. I do. Sometimes I'll do simple things like, you know, run a really fine sandpaper over it, and you know, really, and also I hand pick from a bunch of needles, right? So all the needles aren't created equal, so I'll hand pick a needle and then go from there as well. So I have a whole bunch of needles. I have a whole bunch of air valves, so if one is just not perfect, I'll change that air valve, you know. And so that's really cool. JC said, just did a graduation cap, Tim. Man, things take time, especially when freehanding. Oh, I can't wait to see it, JC. I know you're going to do a great job, man, so I'm definitely not worried about that. JC said he called the fire department to get the needle out of your toe. Yeah, that when that thing drops, you just get out of the way. That thing is super sharp. That's for sure, you know, definitely. So like right up here, so I kind of, you know, creating atmosphere today. And, you know, of course I'm going to, you know, adjust things a little bit here and there. So right now, I was going to come up here and darken this, but we'll see how it goes. And let's see here. So I was going to do right here and perpendicular and not parallel, because I don't want it to go like and go into her face and all that. It would just be sad, you know. Oh, so JC's asking how the helmet's going, Scott. I love to hear. Yes, and see it perhaps soon. If you ever want to share it. So right now we are going, so see how it kind of doesn't go straight the whole way? So I'm going to do perpendicular. And I'm going to stop there because it doesn't go all the way down. I mean, it doesn't go straight the whole way. So I heard that Mr. Steve Leahy was feeling under the weather. I hope he's feeling better. I know he had that trip out to California, and that takes, you know, a lot. And Giovanni says, do you have any experience with older nozzle caps? I'm talking about the one with no threads. I did. I been looking them for you, but I haven't find them. They used to be with the no threads, definitely. But they're hard to find at this point. Oh, you're able to get your hands on one of those, but can't tell the difference. Interesting. I mean, I remember that there was none, because you see there's this over here. There's this thread here. Is that what you're talking about? The thread that goes towards the needle? Is that the one? Because I know there were some without the threads. And it also depends on how that, which I don't ever use, which is the needle cap. I feel needle caps are great for beginners, but you definitely got to get rid of that needle cap to get that little extra detail, right? That little bit of extra detail. That really goes a long way. And, oh yeah, so now I'm going to try just a little bit of the perpendicular. So I'm going to be careful, just to get that edge a little bit. But I'm going to go away from where I don't want to paint, if that makes sense. There we go. So now I have that line, just creating some leading lines sort of thing. Let's try it on this side as well. So I'm going to go away from where I don't want to paint. See that? And now I'll push this down here. And here I'll go perpendicular. And just creating some little bit of dimension here. And then I may come in with the paintbrush to really delineate that a little bit more. And initially it's always a little messy, right? You know, that's true. That's okay. It's all about refining, going back, messing it up, refining, you know, loosening it up, refining, until we get that kind of in between. Because if everything's too tight in the background, it's like needling and not good. And everything's too loose, it's mushy. So I'm kind of trying to find that in between, where she's in a definite environment, but she's also the main character. Now we can come up here. Now here's where I'm going to crop her, right? This is where the mat's going to come and I'm going to frame her and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure there's no schmutz over there. I'm about 4 inches away, so I'm a good distance. I'm getting that soft spray, right? Liz says she just shared a meme that said, make it exist first, then you can make it good later. Yes, done is so much better than perfect, right? When I'm writing my manuscript, you know, I'm already at the second draft, but that first draft, if I didn't do the first draft, it doesn't matter how good the third draft is. That first draft is everything. I can't believe I wrote a manuscript, right? I mean, just think about that. Me, little old me. And when someone like me does something like that, I give you all the license to go do it yourself. Like, why not us, right? Why can't we write a book? Why can't, you know, we do an online course? Why not, right? And so it goes back to what my friend said, is that you have to have a plan, right? So a plan is everything. Yeah, it kind of is, right? And to fulfill that plan, right? To not give up, to be obsessed. I know that sounds like a negative thing, but if I'm not obsessed, it's not happening. And so I have to be obsessed, like nothing's going to stop me from finishing this thing, and I'm just going to keep going. And that's exactly what happened when I was doing my online courses, right? They were really hard. I never did it. And there's a really big barrier of entry for a lot of these things. And what we have to do is we have to make sure that, you know, we are not letting that barrier of entry get in our way. Because the world will tell you we're not good enough, right? I mean, definitely. The world is really happy to say, you're not good enough. Who are you to write a book? Who are you to do an online course? Who are you to paint a picture that is much better than you ever thought it could be, right? So it's up to us to have that obsession, because that's the only way that it's going to get done. And to have that plan is, you know, like Liz said, is that you make it exist first, then you make it good later, and then you make it great. And then after you make it great, then you make it monumental. And so, yes, and I think that, ooh, it's making interesting hissing sounds. But yeah, that's when things really start ramping up, when we just say, you know what, why not us? And things will happen. It's true. They will. I mean, take it from me, the last couple of years, a lot of things happened that I thought would never happen to me. I did an article for Airbrush Step by Step magazine. I produced a line of inks. I did a lot of different things that, you know, I thought wasn't possible. Ryan, muy buenas noches, amigo mío. So headed to el aeropuerto in 2 hours. So you're coming back to Canada. Oh man. So vaya con Dios, amigo mío. Mean go with God, sir. And Ryan says it looks awesome. Thank you, my friends. JC says negative things to exist to have positive outcome. Remember our deal with Sophia. Yes, and you pulled it off, my friend, right? And then you did that amazing painting of Viva Zapata, right? So you did that amazing painting. So JC says buenos nachos. Yes, con queso. That's really funny. So I started this at 3. No, what time did I start this? I started it at 3 o'clock. So I'm gonna go to 4 o'clock with this bonus live stream. Just letting you guys know, because I'm gonna take advantage of going for a walk. And so on Wednesday, I think we're gonna be finishing this painting. So that's gonna be just amazing to finish this painting. And you all have been here the whole time, so that's going to be great. But before we go, maybe we could do some wet palette action, right? That can't hurt anybody. So I'm going to use this color here. I'm going to bring in the wet palette, and we'll just kind of create some linear patterns here, which is not always perfect. But here we have a little bit of a mistake. So what I want to do when I have a mistake is I want to use this. Thanks, JC. I appreciate that so much. JC says, Viene el señor lleno de queso. Y the wife says, queso, ¿qué te pasa, Nacho? That's funny. Yes, me encanta comida mexicana. That's for sure. That's some good stuff. And then we'll just bring this down. Just also trying to fix some of these lines, we'll do our best. I'm going to try and make it the best I can, but I'm not trying to make it perfect. Here's one for you, Liz. Someone told me many, many years ago, is if you want to make a great painting, if you want to make a perfect painting, it's easy. Become a perfect person and then paint. So the moral of that is, don't worry about making a perfect painting, because we're not perfect people, And so part of us is making paintings that has flaws in it. And that's what makes it human, right? That what we're doing is human. It's part of our human condition of things not being perfect. That's okay, right? But that's why we push each other and we try and get us all to the next level, by live streams, attending live streams, and just, being there for one another like this. That says a lot about us. Thanks, Giovanni. Giovanni says it's looking amazing. I appreciate it. So this is where I'm going to stop, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging. Thank you, Giovanni and Ryan, JC, Liz, you're amazing. And we have Colette's amazing. And We have Poco, and I'm going to make sure I say everyone here. Mr. Dan was here in tone, which is great. Always a pleasure. Anthony was here. Tony D. And let's see. Is that everyone? If I miss someone, I'm really apologetic about that. But I think I got everyone. So thank you, everyone, for hanging. It's been really Giovanni, of course. If I missed you, it was so good to see everyone. Have a great weekend. I will see everyone, God willing, on Wednesday night at 9:30. And we're going to finish this beautiful lady hanging out in the subway. Bye, everybody. And thanks so much for the super chats to enable this bonus live stream to happen.